The Path of Exile 2 Abyss update added some crazy new crafting options that make it much more accessible, and in this video I'll show you how you can craft really strong weapons relatively cheaply. I'll cover 3 different crafting methods of different budgets and walk you through the process. These methods will minimize randomness, work for all attack-based weapons, and many aspects can be translated to other item types as well. So before we get started, let's take a look at what kind of weapon we're going for and what even makes the best weapons in the game. If we look at any weapon type on the market sorted by highest DPS, you will see a pattern at the top of the list. For prefixes, you will see a high increased physical percentage roll plus a flat physical roll. This is the most powerful combination. It has been for a very long time, even in earlier Diablo games. It still is. So we definitely want the physical combo, and the third prefix mod can be a variety of things. Typically a flat elemental roll, but it is more flexible in general. And for suffixes, the most valuable mod is the gem levels. +6 will yield around 50% more damage, and then you would usually want attack speed, and the last one depends on weapon type. It could be critical strike chance, additional arrows for bows, but that's more of a luxury. I'm showing you this so we can get an idea of what the core package for a good weapon is, and then we just need to figure out the best way to get there. Now, with the new crafting methods, we can guarantee the +6 gem levels, which is crazy. We can somewhat guarantee a flat physical roll, and the physical percentage roll we can't guarantee. But whenever you craft something, it's usually best to start with the most valuable mod that you can't guarantee. So if we just use that mod as a baseline, we already have the core package for an amazing weapon. And then the other mods are going to be more flexible, but will also ultimately decide whether it's going to be a nice endgame weapon or a godly endgame weapon. So I prepared 3 bases to demonstrate these methods. Our starting point is going to be your desired base with a high increased physical damage roll. The most annoying part is getting the first mod on your desired base, and the sad reality is that it's best to just buy it. I would aim for around 150% increased physical damage on a blue item. Early on in a league you may have to settle for less, but in general 150-ish should be very affordable. The first 2 base items will have a useless suffix, and the last one will have a good suffix on top of the physical percentage roll, which is going to be a higher stake craft. Let's get started with the first method. This is going to be the cheapest and have a really high power floor guaranteed, which is amazing, especially early on in the league. I will craft a siege crossbow. This is among the more popular base items this league, which is why it's on the expensive side and cost me 40 exalted orbs. That will already be half of our budget for this craft, but it's still a bargain considering what you can do with this. If you have a base item with just the increased physical damage roll and no suffix, use a perfect augmentation orb. If you hit something desirable, save it for the third method, but most likely it's going to be trash, like here, which is completely fine. The first step is going to be very simple. All we need is a greater essence of abrasion. The new essences work like regal orbs, but guarantee the modifier, which is stupidly powerful. This will turn the item into a rare with a guaranteed flat physical mod. So we already have the double physical combo after just 1 step. Now the flat physical damage added with the essence is not going to be the highest level. It's a tier 3 mod, but considering how rare the tier 1 and 2 mods are, getting a tier 3 guaranteed is still pretty amazing, and when you're crafting on a budget, you'll have to make some cuts. The next step will be adding the third prefix. Earlier I said it's more flexible, so for this method we want to desecrate a prefix on our weapon. When you desecrate an item, you will get to pick 1 out of 3 options when revealing it. And the options will be basic mods that can roll on your weapon naturally, or special desecration only mods. These desecration only mods aren't usually better than natural mods, but they have the advantage of only having 1 tier, so you will not be getting low level rolls like you would with basic mods. And they are much easier to force if there's a good one you want. So make sure to check PoE 2DB for desecrated weapon modifiers on your weapon type. I'll leave the link in the description. If there are no good Abyss specific mods, we will be hoping for a flat elemental damage roll as desired last prefix. This one can be hit or miss. The high level rolls are less likely to roll, but you can get lucky for a massive DPS increase if you hit a good elemental damage roll. But for crossbows, for example, there is also a prefix that lets you summon an additional ballista totem, which is more valuable than a flat elemental rolls for ballista builds at least. There's also like a +1 grenade cooldown use, which can be okay, I guess. If you want either of those desecrated mods, pay attention to these name tags. Amanimu, Kurgul, and Alaman, because you can guarantee your desecration to reveal a mod of one of these named types by using the Abyssal Omens, which are super cheap. So for our siege crossbow, I want an additional ballista rather than gambling for a flat elemental damage roll, so I can just use an Omen of the Sovereign to guarantee an element modifier. And in this case, there are only 2 element prefixes, so I should have the +1 ballista as an option at least 50% of the time. Now, before we desecrate the item, we need to make sure we have the appropriate omen in our inventory and active if you're looking for a specific desecrated only mod, but you also need an omen of Sinistral Necromancy. Whenever an omen has Sinistral in its name, it will target prefixes, and Dextral will target suffixes. So this Sinistral Necromancy omen will ensure that we are getting a desecrated prefix modifier. This is the only part here that's more of a gamble, but you can increase your odds quite significantly using these omens, and there's also an omen of Abyssal Echoes that will let you reroll the 3 options once, but for this cheaper craft it may not be worth it, because the omen may be more expensive than just getting a new base and starting over. So let's see what we get. The extra ballista has a high chance of showing up, but I also wouldn't say no to a high flat elemental roll. Okay, so we actually got both element mods and a hybrid physical/accuracy roll. This one can be decent if you want a full physical weapon. It's obviously much weaker compared to the big physical roll, but some builds may prefer pure physical weapons, so any amount of extra physical damage helps. I think the ballista one is more powerful, but it is easier to force, so I'll just take the hybrid physical damage. It will increase the DPS by like 130. I did the math. This would equal to around a tier 3 flat elemental damage roll, but pure physical DPS can be more desirable. So we did get something decent, which was very likely. If you miss, you could try to salvage it with some YOLO Chaos Orbs or something. Technically, you could remove the desecrated mod, but it's just super expensive. But yeah, that's a different story. Let me know if you would like to see a video trying to salvage bricked crafts. Anyway, after the desecration, we have our 3 prefixes done. For our suffixes, we can guarantee the +6 levels with a perfect Essence of Battle. This one is like 40 Exalted Orbs. The cheapest way would be to just fill the suffixes with Exalted Orbs before using the essences to make sure it doesn't take away the prefixes. Because if your item already has full suffixes and the essence adds another suffix, it has to replace another suffix first to make space for the new one. Alternatively, if you want to get rid of the life leech suffix and wanted better odds of getting a new better suffix, you could also use an omen of dextral crystallization. This would make sure that the essence removes the suffix, but this will cost you extra. Because if you were to use the essence without the omen or full suffixes, it would have a good chance of removing one of the prefixes, which we don't want. So I'm going for the cheaper method of just filling the suffixes with Exalted Orbs before we can guarantee our perfect essence mod. Let's see what we get. Reduced attribute requirements, my favorite, and life gained on kill, which isn't the worst, but not something you would want on your weapon. So because all of these are trash and we have nothing to lose in terms of suffixes, we could now also use a perfect Essence of Haste, which gives onslaught on kill that increases attack and movement speed. And the essence is dirt cheap, so you're not risking anything. So let's use the Essence of Haste to remove a suffix and get onslaught, and then use the perfect Essence of Battle to hopefully not kill onslaught. And we removed onslaught on kill. Unlucky. If you do remove onslaught, you could technically use another perfect haste essence and hope it won't hit the +6. It's a 2 out of 3 times that you won't, but worst case scenario, you remove the +6 and you have to spend another 40 AX for a new Essence of Battle. But you could guarantee both onslaught and +6 if you just keep cycling these 2 essences. But I don't want to spend any more on this, since this is supposed to be the budget option. I didn't have good RNG or anything, the desecration was fine I guess, but it had really good odds to begin with thanks to the omens. And when it comes to the suffixes, I only got trash and even lost onslaught on kill. Now it's pretty much done, we just put in runes and sell it because I just crafted this for educational purposes. I spent around 100 Exalted Orbs. Most of it was the base and the Essence of Battle, and now we have a 766 physical DPS crossbow with +6 gem levels and the additional grenade implicit, which will likely sell for about double of what it cost me without much RNG involved. And it quickly sold for 2 divines, which is like 270x at this time. And now onto the second craft, which will cost a bit more because we will need a couple of omens of crystallization, which are like 40 or 50x, but you can guarantee 3 good prefixes and better suffixes. This time we will desecrate a suffix, so make sure to check the desecrated suffixes for your weapon type. I'll do crossbows again, because they can roll chain, which is ridiculously powerful if it works with your skills, which is why I am using this base. It's also decent for bows, because you can have multiple options for local attack speed. The start is the same, get a blue weapon of your choice with increased physical percentage and a random garbage suffix. I bought this base for 10 exalted orbs. Once again we use a greater essence of abrasion for the flat physical roll, but now for the last prefix we will go for an essence mod that grants you up to 33% of your damage as an element of your choice. There's an essence for each element. This is a hidden gem of a mod that can compete even with the higher flat elemental damage rolls, because it doesn't only take the weapon's base damage, but it also buffs all your other sources of added damage by 33% basically. Your rings, your gloves, your quiver if you're using a bow, it's awesome. And the best thing is that you can guarantee it, just like the +6 gem levels, but it's a prefix. The only downside is that it won't increase the DPS shown on the weapon, so the perceived value may be lower because I don't think people are aware or looking for it, and it might be harder to sell. But if you're using it yourself, it's likely going to outdamage other weapons with much more base DPS. So to get this as last prefix without risking the other ones, we will need an omen of dextral crystallization, which is like 40 to 50x, and your perfect essence of choice, most likely lightning. This is lightning league after all. The essence itself is like 2x, it's a joke. Now with the omen we can guarantee that it kills off our trash suffix, and now we have our 3 prefixes done and no more garbage suffixes. For suffixes, our desired mods are going to be the +6 levels, which can be guaranteed with the perfect essence of battle. We also want 1 desecrated suffix, and the last one depends. The safest way to get both the +6 and the desecration would be to exalt twice, so we have 2 suffixes, and then we use another dextral omen of crystallization to turn one of the random suffixes into +6 gems, and then finish with a jawbone to desecrate the last open suffix. The potentially cheaper but less reliable way is going to be to just exalt 3 times, like with the first method, and then cycle the essences. But now you also have to get in the desecration with jawbone, which will work like the suffix eating essences as long as you use them with the omen of dextral necromancy. And it's up to you if you want to spend some extra to get the onslaught on kill on top of +6 gems and the desecration, or if you just settle for the last 2. Just make sure to only use the perfect essences when you do have 3 suffixes if you're not using dextral crystallization omens, and also make sure to use the dextral necromancy omens when desecrating to protect your prefixes. And if you want specific desecration mods, don't forget to also use the specific Abyssal dude's omen. In my case, I need Ulaman again, so I'll have some omens of the Sovereign ready for my desecration attempts. I am going for the slam 3 suffixes and cycle essences approach. Okay, the only bad thing that could possibly happen happened. Here we got a low level plus gem level roll, which blocks our perfect essence of battle because it's the same mod type, and it wasn't removed by the essence of haste or the desecration, which is very unlucky, so we now have to get rid of it. Getting rid of mods can be really expensive, but in our case we can target remove it with a whittling omen. Because all of our mods are forced, they have a high mod tier, which means that if we get a low gem level roll, it's always going to be the lowest mod of all the mods on the item. If we check PoE 2DB, we can see that +2 levels is a level 2 mod, and our next lowest level mod is the flat physical damage roll, which requires level 60. And Whittling Omens let us remove the lowest level mods based on the required item level for that mod. And should you roll projectile gem levels, it's either low enough to be target removable or high enough where you can just keep it. It's pretty much the same as +6 attack gems if you hit. And if you hit +7, it may be even better. So let's get a Whittling Omen to get rid of the low gem level roll. The omens cost 170 axe, the price for getting unlucky, and in this case it's not really even worth it because I didn't even spend that much yet, but for the sake of this video I'll stick to this item. So I'll get the omens to kill off the +2 projectiles mod. Okay, I messed up actually. I got rid of the desecration mods, which I didn't know it could because all of the desecrated mods when revealed are level 65. But let's take that as a learning opportunity. Make sure to reveal the desecrated mod before you use a Whittling Omen. So to fix this, we will try to get rid of the +2 with a new suffix desecrate. If we hit onslaught instead, we get to try again with a perfect essence of haste. But if +2 stays on, we will need a new Whittling Omen, but this time we will reveal before using Whittlings. Live and learn. So let's desecrate again, and we got unlucky. So let's reveal the mod, very important. You can use the Abyssal Echo Omen at this point when revealing to increase the odds. It may be worth it. In my case, I am looking for chain, but I may also settle for attack speed or maybe increased magazine size. But here we have to keep the item level in mind. In my case, I won't even be able to roll +2 bolts. Usually the item level won't matter that much for this method because we just guarantee all the mods. But this is one of the cases where you may be missing out, just like with +2 arrows on bows, for example, which also needs item level 82. It's super rare though, but if you're aiming for that, make sure to have the item level 82 base. So let's see what we get, and we got chain, awesome. Now let's whittle again, and you can see here that it highlights the +2 projectile skill mod, so we can confidently proceed. Now, when editing the video, I looked back to see if my first whittle highlighted the desecrated mod and if I was just being reckless, but it didn't actually show anything in orange, which is definitely a weird interaction because it should always highlight the mod that it's about to remove. Anyway, we have now finally removed the +2 projectile mods and got a new useless suffix, which we will hopefully remove with the next perfect essence of battle that is now usable. Otherwise, we would have to cycle the suffix desecrates and perfect essences until we do remove the useless suffix, or we settle for no onslaught. Let's see what we get. We got rid of chain. Now we need to desecrate again and hope it hits mana leech this time. Make sure to get the omens once again, and we removed +6. The worst possible scenario, now we need to use another Essence of Battle. And we removed Onslaught on kill, which isn't great, but it's okay. I could be using another Perfect Essence of Haste. Keep cycling, but I think you get the idea. I'm not feeling it right now. Please don't get discouraged by my bad RNG, sometimes it happens. Usually you can get away much more cheaply. Now we just need to unveil the desecrated mod, hopefully I get chain again, and then we're pretty much done. At this point I'll also use an Omen of Abyssal Echoes to increase our odds to get chain or like attack speed. We did get chain, at least the desecrations aren't scamming me. Now we just have to add runes and quality if we use it ourselves. I forgot to mention that I also used a Divine Orb because the prefix rolls were abysmal, but that may have been wasteful. We now have a 600 physical damage Gemini crossbow for the additional round. This base is taxed quite heavily for its implicit in terms of DPS, but the extra bolt is worth it for shotgun builds. We have 27% extra damage as lightning added, plus 6 gems for around 50% more damage, and chain, which is amazing for clear, The best thing here is that we can guarantee all of these mods with this crafting method. And you could do it for less than 200x if you don't mess up like I did. My mistake cost me 350 exalts for 2 whittling omens with the chaos orbs, but usually you won't need those unless you're really unlucky. And then I also just use a divine orb because of low prefix rolls. You definitely don't have to do that. But yeah, we can all learn from my mistakes. So make sure to unveil your desecrated mods before you use whittling omens if you get unlucky. That way this crafting method is actually quite amazing and works for any attack-based weapon, but it might not be the greatest for profit crafting because the displayed DPS is not that high and people may be unaware of the value or even the existence of this gain X as extra lightning damage mod for weapons. But I hope at least you guys see how good this weapon is. Okay, and now onto the last craft. This time we will need a base with increased physical damage and a good suffix that's not attack speed. This craft will most likely be much more expensive. I found the base myself, but it would probably cost you a couple of divines already, even with just 1 arrow. Ideally, you'll have T1 physical percent and 2 arrows, but I don't have that. And the item level is also only 79, which is completely fine. So what I'm aiming for here is to keep these 2 good mods. On top of that, I want to gain percentage as extra lightning damage from the perfect electrocuting essences, which we also use in the second craft. And we want the highest attack speed roll, the +2 attack skills, which on bows rolls up to +4, because you can also get +2 from your quiver. And then I would want to desecrate a prefix to hopefully hit a good flat physical roll for the double physical combo. The last part especially will take some luck, and it's also kind of the most important mod to hit because that will determine our baseline DPS. So this is a more ambitious craft, but I think I have a pretty good way of getting there without spending hundreds of divines, I hope. So my plan is I'll use a greater essence of haste for a guaranteed attack speed roll. This essence actually gives you a higher attack speed roll than you can naturally get. So in order to get the highest potential DPS on your weapon, you basically have to craft using this essence because it's the only way to get 25% attack speed, which is 6% higher than the highest natural attack speed roll. Once we use the greater essence of haste, we have 3 really good mods that we want to keep around. And to increase the odds of us keeping these mods around, we will want to use a fracturing orb. This will fracture 1 mod at random, and a fractured mod will always remain on an item no matter what. Now, to use a fracturing orb, an item needs to have at least 4 modifiers. But we can desecrate 1 modifier on the item, and as long as we don't reveal it, the desecrated mod will count as the 4th modifier, but you won't be able to fracture it, which may or may not be intended behavior, but it's a cool tag we can use to increase our odds, and that way we can only hit 1 of our 3 good mods. We can't lose here basically. I will also use a divine orb here because the rolls are terrible. We then desecrate a prefix, and then we use the fracturing orb. Now, although all of our mods are good, the mod that I actually want to hit is the increased physical damage. That would make this craft much easier, because then we could just use a Sinistral Crystallization Omen with a perfect Essence of Battle, and it would turn the desecrated prefix into +4 gems, because the increased physical damage would be safe as it's now fractured. Then we could add a random prefix and use a perfect electrocuting essence with a Sinistral Crystallization Omen to turn the random new prefix into added percentage of extra damage as lightning. That way we would already have 5 out of 6 desired mods, and for the 6th mod we would just desecrate the remaining open prefix and re-roll it until we get flat physical damage by using Omens of Abyssal Echoes and Omens of Light. If we hit either suffix with the fracture, it's more likely that we lose the other suffix, and we will likely have to settle for onslaught on kill instead of either the additional arrow or attack speed, which would suck, but you can get lucky even if you don't hit the fracture. Let's see if we get lucky on the fracture, and we hit attack speed. Okay, I think 25% attack speed is better than the arrow at least, but now we may lose that arrow. But first I wanted to see if I got anything good from the desecration. I didn't. I just pick anything because we have to remove it anyways. Now we have to add the random suffix using the omen of dextral exaltation before we use the perfect essences, and because we need to protect the increased physical percentage prefix at all costs, we have to use a dextral omen of crystallization and risk losing the arrow instead. We just have to hope to win the 50-50 when sacrificing a suffix. And we did, and now we just have to add one more sacrificial suffix and hope that the essence of battle doesn't eat the arrow. This time we don't even need an omen because our bow now has 6 mods, and the mod added with Essence of Battle is a suffix, so it has to remove another suffix to make space for itself. And we actually got lucky. The arrow survived 2 50-50s and it didn't matter that we failed the fracture. If I would have lost the arrow, I could have added Onslaught on Kill instead by cycling perfect essences of battle and haste until I would have gotten rid of the random suffix. But then the next step may not have been worth it, which is re-rolling the desecrated mod. You can target remove the desecrated mod with an Omen of Light and then just re-desecrate, but an Omen of Light is like 2.5 Divine Orbs. We do basically get 6 options every time because of the Abyssal Echo reroll Omen, but we are looking for flat physical specifically, and the high tier flat rolls have a really low weighting. I think it would be around a 1% chance if you wanted at least tier 2, not including all the desecrated mods that further dilute the mod pool. In this case, I think it's actually worth it to use the ancient jawbones for better odds, even though they are stupidly expensive. So I just kept rerolling the desecrated mod, and after just 2 Omens of Lights, I actually hit tier 1 flat fizz, which is very lucky. So I am pretty happy with this bow. It's pretty close to perfection. After divining it, it's only missing like 10% increased physical for not having a tier 1 physical percentage roll, 1 arrow, and I guess a socket from an exceptional base. I did get lucky, but this method is pretty forgiving, all things considered. If you hit the prefix fracture at the beginning, you only have to re-roll the desecrated mod pretty much, and if you miss, there's still a 25% chance you keep both suffixes, like in my case. Anyway, I really hope this was helpful in some way, and if you have any suggestions for this type of content, please let me know.